we went to Comedy Central, and I swear to God, before we went into Comedy Central, as we're pulling up out front, he goes, if you get ripped off, these are the guys that are going to rip you off. I swear, he said that. I couldn't believe it. So we go in, and they were the only production company out of all the 8, 9, 10 other ones we went to that said they weren't interested. And then a year and a half later, they came up with Reno 911.
All right, this is Toolshed Art Club, and we're sitting here with Shae Degan, the owner and founder of 88 Tactical. But he's more than just that. And I want to preface this. You're just a creative guy overall, because your building here is beautiful.
Oh,
like,
better get up to the microphone here.
Thank
you.
I actually, even when I was here last week with you guys, I was leaving, going to the elevator. And there was a dude, it must have been his first time in here, or he's new. And he was just going, this building is this place is
really?
awesome. Telling one of your employees and just going on and on about it. But you are doing really cool stuff, Every Man's Dream, a hidden door, bookshelf, that open up, elevator up to a speakeasy and stuff like that. So you've always had a creative bone in your body, and you started out that's what I wanted to talk to you about, is because we've talked about you doing stand-up, and I just got pieces here and there.
Super successful.
Yeah. That's how you took all the money you made from stand-up and opened this place.
Poured it into this, that, and a lot of the meth I was selling.
Nice.
And then started Signal 88 Security. No, yeah, I you want me to start from the kind of the beginning and bore the shit out of you?
Yeah, how'd you get into stand-up? What made you want to do stand-up in the first place?
I don't, I sucked at school. I was terrible in school. I was always, I was the dude that was daydreaming and always wanted to cut corners. I just couldn't stand school. I just didn't have the attention span. And back then it was ADD was, I'm 55. So ADD was kind of known, but it's not like now where it's a big fucking deal.
Yeah.
So it constantly kept my attention elsewhere outside of the classroom. And if you didn't have a teacher that was up on a unicycle juggling flaming bowling pins, telling filthy jokes, I wasn't going to pay attention.
You and I are very similar in that regard. Failed French 1 3 times.
Yeah.
Had to do night school for math just to graduate. Yeah.
Okay.
I just, but if it was something that I liked, then I was dialed in.
Exactly. I was in a stupid math class because I was just terrible. I just didn't have the attention span. It was more important for me to be a squirrel and just be the class clown and make friends and network. So when I got out of high school, I remember telling my parents, I hated school so much that, when I finished, I wasn't going to go to college. And of course, back then, a little bit different now, in pushing that path.
Yeah.
But at the time, my parents you don't have a choice. You're going to go to college. You're going to find some other place to live. You won't live here under a roof unless you go to college. So I was like, well, I got to do something. I ended up joining the Coast Guard, but then after I was out of the Coast Guard, it was the reserves. I came back and I started dabbling and doing stand-up. It was something I always wanted to play around with. Of course, my cousin, Jeff Degan, being the radio personality, he's funny as all get up. And Jeff and I would do these home videos since we were little kids. And
I've seen some of these videos.
They're horrible.
Back at some point, one of you had sent them, and I loved them though that you guys were making them.
It's just stupid shit. Just dumb stuff. I always felt bad because we'd have our family gatherings, around the holidays, and that was our big thing. That's all we did at the holidays, Christmas and Thanksgiving. We'd film, and then we would force our parents to sit and watch it. And it hadn't been so cringe for them.
Yeah.
And so
the longest scenes ever.
Pretending like they thought it was funny. They're like, oh, that's great.
Checking. They're like, what time is it?
Where the hell did I go wrong?
What inspired you to even start making videos in the first place? Or your comedians that were like, hey, I'm going to give this a shot?
Second City Television. SCTV. So Martin Short, John Candy, Eugene Levy, Catherine O'Hara, all of those who've gone on to have huge careers, acting careers. We were just absolute SCTV junkies. Do you even know what Second City Television was?
I did not.
It was a Canadian show.
Yeah.
You familiar with it?
Yeah, dude, you got to check it out,
Oh my
man.
God.
They even released records. I have one of their records with
Really?
a bunch of their bits on it. Yeah.
Oh, it's amazing. It really is amazing. It's very campy. It really kind of catered to our style of of humor.
Yeah.
Very dark humor. My dad is very, very funny. My uncle, who's Jeff's dad, passed away many years ago. Just an absolute freaking riot. Just like genius sense of humor.
And so what did he end up doing for a living?
He had his own truck transport company.
Okay.
And then my dad was in the real estate, commercial real estate industry for years.
Okay.
But extremely well connected in Omaha, personable dudes, great senses of humor and networked to the gills. So watching Second City Television really kind of pushed us towards some of the crazy ideas and making funny skits. It got to the point where our basement at my parents' house, it was unfinished. And we literally built a set, a silly ass set, painted, had a kitchen table, we had a screen door, and we did these jacked up videos that always took place in the same setting. But
I could only imagine how much fun you and Jeff were having.
Oh, we had a blast.
And how hard you guys were laughing together.
Yeah. We didn't give a shit if our parents didn't laugh, and we was like, well, if it makes us laugh.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's no different than, you did comedy and still are doing comedy.
Yeah, still the same thing. We've talked on a prior episode about, in high school, I didn't want to write papers. So I convinced 3 of my classes to just let me make movies because iMovie just came out. So me and Adam Devine and 2 others, we made 3 films in high school.
You gotta be kidding me. And that was accepted.
They accepted it. And one of them was for creative writing. It was just one where I go running because Forrest Gump inspires me. And then these 2 hillbillies, run me over and tie me to a tree and put cow milkers on me and milk me, and they're squirting.
I've seen that on Pornhub. Is that the video?
Big hit.
Well, since Adam showed his dick so many times, someone might have put it up there. So there's milk squirting, and then they're throwing ranch on me and eating it off. And the teacher was like, one kid laughed because he was so disturbed. What? But then they got less weird, and then the end one was gone for the day where we skipped school and go on this adventure. But same sort of deal where you don't even really care. You just want to make something.
Yeah. It's a release of that creative energy, and it's such an important thing. Yeah. I mean, these kids nowadays I sound so old when I'm like, these kids nowadays with what you have with a cell phone, with the iPhone, and the ability to film high quality, much better than we just had that conversation the other day at lunch with Randy. We were talking about it. Just the power that you hold in just that iPhone, and then all the editing software. Yeah. So cheap because back in the day, it was editing from one deck to another deck, and it was a painstaking process. And now it's effortless.
When was your first stand-up show? When were you like, all right, I'm going to give this a shot?
I don't even know if I recall. I just know that there was an open mic night down at Duffy's down in Lincoln at the bar down there. And do you remember Mark Gross?
Yeah. He's written for so many shows now.
He has a ton. Yeah. So Mark was just doing stand-up comedy at the time. He was my inspiration, became buddies with him. And he and Red, I can't remember Red's real name, another dude that was down there and kind of the face of Duffy's open mic night. Mike Meehan. I don't know if you know Mike Meehan.
Yeah, that sounds very familiar.
Advertising agency here, Clark Creative. He's one of the big shots over there. Mike is probably one of the most intelligent, just a genius comedian and writer, just a riot. So he was doing stand-up. He just started doing it. Talked me into doing it, went down there and bombed, absolutely freaking bombed. But it was so much fun because all my friends were there and they were laughing and I didn't care what anybody else. I think it was the first time somebody literally yelled that you suck. Like you see in the comedy skits where you suck. And it's like, that doesn't really, it happens.
Yeah, I've experienced
it happens. I got yelled at.
Do you remember any of the jokes from that first time? Or even a piece of
I remember telling a really dumb joke. My dad used to wear Old Spice all the time. And for some reason, he had this hack that you could pour, this is so stupid, pour Old Spice in like an ashtray because they smoke and light it on fire and it would kind of make the house smell good. And so I start imparting this knowledge, to the crowd. And I said, I don't, who would have known, but I said, I poured it in there, lit it on fire, and I caught the entire house on fire and killed everybody inside, but it smelled really nice. And that was one of the dumb jokes that I used to tell.
Yeah.
And the rule of thumb, you try it 3, 4, 5 times.
Right.
Dump it,
and by the right. And then it's so hard. Like when you like the joke, Like
Yeah.
there's some times where I've been really stubborn and I'm like,
Right.
I know that no one will laugh at this next
I'm not
joke,
letting go.
but I'm saying it.
You know, even having someone yell "you suck" could be better than absolute silence. Because when I dabbled in comedy, I just had absolute silence, and I had a joke where I said, you know, old guys are like the guardian angels of the gym. If you ever have an issue, you drop the bar on you, they will be the ones who save you. But their payment in return is that they get to walk around the locker room completely naked. And like whole room silence. And then one guy who, like the one guy who obviously lifted weights afterwards was like, hey, that was funny. And I was like, I think you're the only guy in here that gets it because you're the only guy that, you're the only guy in here that lifts weights. So,
well, you could have laughed or chuckled.
Yeah.
I've only had my worst show of my entire life where it was just like silence and so weird is, you know, I was in my early 20s and my act was that of like an early 20s and super just abstract and weird. And I had a show for the Shiners and it was just all the old dudes in their hats.
That sounds horrible.
Yeah, they all pulled in their go-karts. The whole parking lot was packed. And then they came in and just stared at me. And luckily, like I was just the feature and this other dude from Lincoln, I could see him pacing the back, but I knew, like I could feel the energy in the room. And like, I saw how old they were in their hats that I was like, I got paid right. I'm like, hey man, can I get that check real quick? Cause I knew I'm like, this is not going to go well. And it did not.
I love it. I love it.
How long do you have to sit in that?
That silence?
Yeah.
I did like 20 minutes.
Oh,
And
that's an eternity. Like there's a part of your soul that's still
That's
there.
terrible.
That's a long time.
I remember doing a show up in Fayetteville. They call it in North Carolina, Fayette Knob, because it's where the main military base, Army base is. It was Holiday Inn, and it was a room that was packed, 400 people. I was so excited to come roll up, and I see my name up on the sign, and I'm featuring, and I'm nervous as hell. And I go in, and they got the cheesy board, and it's got my 8x10 headshot where I used to have hair, and I was just like, wow, I can't believe my dream's coming true. I was just so excited. I get up on stage. First of all, the MC gets up there and just bombs. Not one person's paying attention in the crowd. They're all talking the entire time. No security. No one's coming over and telling them to keep quiet. And I'm like, I'm fucking dead. I'm dead. This is going to be so painful. It's not even funny. And do you remember Drew Hastings? You've been on Johnny Carson, a bunch of really funny comedians.
Yeah. I know the name.
You probably recognize him. You saw him. So Drew was the headliner, and he could tell I was nervous as hell. And he goes, "Don't worry about it." He goes, "Here's the thing." He goes, "All you have to do," and he gave me the best piece of advice. "All you have to do is make the other comics laugh." He said, "Fuck everybody else." He said, "You make me laugh," and he said, "You're golden."
That is good. That is good advice.
So I was like, wow. And then it completely made me feel at ease. And then I got up on stage and just bombed. It was horrible. It was horrible. I think I was done in like 10 minutes or whatever. And I had it in my head that I was like, well, listen, if I don't get paid, I don't get paid. I'm not going to fight. I'm not going to fight for it. So I go in the back, and it was so bad. No one was listening. I go in the back, and Drew goes, yes. And he's high-fiving me. And then I started feeling better, and I was laughing. And I thought, ooh, this is going to be interesting to see what, pro like Drew does. And he goes out there, and not one person's listening to him. And he didn't give a shit. And he played right into it. So he's like, he goes, some of you may have seen me on the Johnny Carson show before. They keep talking. He goes, yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
He goes, one of my favorite times. So if you guys know of any jokes, can recall a joke that I told on the Carson show, and you want me to tell it, just holler it out. One at a time, guys. And he did this for like 10, 15 minutes. Nobody picked up on it. I was in tears, laughing my ass off. And finally he goes, okay, thank you. Drop the mic, goes, fuck off, walks off, and about got in a fist fight with the hotel manager because the hotel manager wasn't going to pay him. I got paid my $100.
Yeah.
And this is back in 1989, 1990.
Oh, dang.
Dude, sometimes you snap.
I saw a clip once of Dane Cook yelling at a heckler, and then afterwards he's like, all right, we have the energy of like daddy hitting mommy at the dinner table here. So the first time that I saw Austin, he opened up for Steve-O. It was I was thinking about this last night. This is what's weird.
Was it Steve-O or Theo?
It was Steve-O. It's the first time,
it was Theo.
Oh, it was Theo. All right, either
Theo.
way.
Yeah.
First time I see Austin, he's opening up for Theo Von. First time Austin sees me, I'm opening up for Mitch McVicker, who's like a Christian artist that Austin likes, right? And then we actually met together at church. So it was, I didn't think about that we both saw each other for the first time opening up for someone else. But either way, at the Steve-O show that I was at,
Theo.
No, this is Steve-O.
Oh, okay.
Like Steve-O had to correct somebody.
Confused.
Yeah, sorry.
Their names are so similar.
Yeah, so Steve-O from Jackass, he had to correct somebody, and it was weird to see, like, how out of line do you have to be for Steve-O to be like, hey, you need to stop. But some guy, Steve-O said at the end of my, hey, at the end of my set here, I'll go out there, you can meet me. And this drunk guy stood up and was like, I'm gonna fucking meet Steve-O, and started yelling. And Steve was like, hey, dude, stop. And then it was like, okay, I've never thought you'd see Steve-O like correct somebody, but okay.
This is what he's like when he's not taking every drug on earth. I opened for him in Denver right when he was getting into stand-up.
Yeah.
And he lit his head on fire for his closer. And then
That's a great
hairspray, light it, and then does a backflip and it goes out, right? So the first night.
He took that for, I used to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's what ends up happening.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, you're a thief.
Is that what happened to you? You just kept doing that
He's a
over
fucking
and over.
hack. He stole my shit.
Doing that in the 90s.
I was doing that back in 1980.
I was doing that when you were in clown school. You know, you went to clown school.
Right after I got out of Vietnam.
So he lights his head on fire, and they have a door guy standing there with the fire extinguisher just in case something goes wrong. So listen, he lights his head on fire. I'm all the way in the back, and the Denver Improv's a big room, and he lights his head on fire, does a backflip, it goes out, the door guy panics and just starts spraying him with a fire extinguisher and everyone in the front row in the face. Ooh. So I am laughing, I'm like dying. Like he's like, but there's a white cloud, so he doesn't realize, like he's just everybody's screaming.
I hope somebody got that on video.
There's probably, because it was probably like 2010 or, you know, it was a while ago. And there's exit doors on both sides of the stage. They had to open them up and get everyone out of there because of the fumes. And so, you know, that night he didn't get to sell merch or meet any fans, but it was awesome.
That is hilarious. And then Steve-O probably had that as part of his act at every show.
Yeah, dude.
That's funny as hell.
Yeah, dude. And here's the fire extinguisher.
I had a guy threaten my life. I was in South Beloit, Illinois, right on the border. What is it, Indiana or Wisconsin? I'm an idiot geographically. And it was at this little dive bar. I'll never forget, there was like this balcony set up top. And everybody started pouring in. And I'm watching this thing. And they had like this banister. And it was like all creaky. And it was going to break. It was like made of fucking balsa wood. And all these people were up there. It was the most odd setup in this shitty little bar. And I'm doing a feature I was a feature there, and it's just nonstop up there, people talking. So use your typical bits. Where'd you learn how to whisper a fucking helicopter? Right? And somebody yells something, sir, you should have come here wearing a condom on your head because you act like a dick, you ought to dress like one. Yeah. Right. And what's your name? I can't read your belt buckle from here. All those fucking old school, right? Yeah. So I'm burning through them all. And in my head, I'm like, what else? I got to come up with something else. Because everyone's laughing except this group up top. Yeah. And he yells something else out, something motherfucker. And I go, you know, your mom, I was talking to your mom earlier tonight. And she told me you were going to be a real problem. I said, but I mean, after she went, boom, she told me. And he goes, I'm going to fucking kill you. And I laugh and no one up top, I go, oh, he's going to kill me. No one's laughing. He goes, no, I'm going to fucking kill you. And I was like, so I do the rest of my bit and it just, I bomb. And I get off stage. I'm not even old enough to drink. I go over to the bar and I was like, can I get a Coke? Coca-Cola, please? The guy goes, you should probably go. And I look at him, I laugh. He goes, no, seriously, that's Daryl. He'll kill you. That's Daryl. They all knew him. It was some nut job from the town. So I was like, oh, it sounds good. Got my brown Ford Taurus and I got the fuck out of there. It was terrible.
Daryl is going to kill you.
He didn't want to give me a Coke. He's like, you should go.
He's not a heckler.
He's going to kill you.
He does not understand humor.
Daryl will murder you.
So if I really wanted to ask you this, you know, hopefully we're not jumping forward too much, but so you're an officer for a while. I imagine you've got a good sense of humor. So does that help when you're on a call if someone's like being belligerent to you? Because I always think when people would talk shit to me, I always would try to think if it's objectively funny. And if you're being funny when you make fun of me, then I can appreciate it. But when you're just being shitty, it's not obviously funny. So were there times where someone was like cussing you out or something and you thought, that guy's got a good point or that was kind of funny?
I was never sarcastic with people. And that was the fun part. So I was a cop for 23 years, worked for 3 different agencies.
So before, like, did you transition out of stand-up into becoming a cop? Or did they overlap at all?
Coast Guard was the first move because I had failed so severely in college. My parents said, hey, well, I'll back up. So I grew up Millard, did terrible in school. Older brother, very intelligent. Younger sister, very intelligent. I was a dipshit of the family. And my mom worked through Creighton University. She was a nurse and worked through pediatrics. And at the time, they would give you free tuition.
Yeah.
You could either take it and pay a higher salary, or you take a smaller salary and you get free tuition for your kids. So my older brother got into Creighton. He ended up graduating summa cum laude. He was really very, very intelligent guy. And then it was my turn. I went to prep and failed the entire time. They were like, we're going to send you to prep because you're really dumb. And hopefully it's going to straighten you out and make you smart. Well, that didn't happen. Yeah. So they get my transcripts, Creighton University does, and they're like, no, I think we'll pass on this one. So I don't get accepted into Creighton, free tuition. So I go to UNO, and my parents are like, we'll pay the first 4 years, but it's got to be consecutive. You got to pass. If there's any break whatsoever, it's on you. I was like, okay. So I skipped my finals in the first semester. I get put on academic probation. I skip my finals. In the second semester, I get suspended, academically suspended for a year. So I panic. I'm like, what the hell am I going to tell my parents? I'm going to have to bullshit, right? I can't tell them the fucking truth. So my grades end up coming in the mailbox, and I snatch them ahead of time. And it was the old tab tear off, and you peel it back. It's that carbon paper. Well, back then we had typewriters, so I get the typewriter out. It's the exact same fucking font. I got lucky, and I just was trying stuff. I took an eraser and could erase it. It erased. I was like, oh my God. I put it in a typewriter, and I ka-chunk, and I'm not going to put like an A because it'll be obvious. So I'm
my God,
D.
it's going to work.
Yeah. For the F's, I'm like D, C+.
Nice.
I just kept them, where it looked legit to a degree. And my mom, I come into the house and I act like I tear the tab off, got my grade. She goes, give it here. Takes it out of my hand. I'm like, geez. And she opens it up. She goes, oh, I'm so proud of you. Look at you, a D+, a C+. I was like, I told you I was going to work hard. So I was like, I'm going to take a year off though. And they were like, why would you take a year off? You're doing so well. I go, I don't know. My dad's like, if you're going to take a year off, you're going to have a full-time job or you're going to join the military. And I was like, I'm fucked because I don't want to work.
You were like, I have to escape here now before they find out the true grades.
Yeah, seriously. So I jumped, it was the Coast Guard or the Marine Corps. And at the time, Top Gun was out. And I remember,
hell yeah,
it's so simple thinking, so simple-minded. I was 18, such a dipshit. I'm like, I like that motorcycle. It's a cool ninja. You got a ninja racing on the fucking pier with a plane. I won't do that. And I'm like, where can I do that? I'm going to join the Coast Guard. So literally,
it's just the government propaganda worked for you.
Totally.
I get to ride motorcycles and have sex with chicks.
We're going to give you a leather coat and a ninja.
Hell yeah.
What do you think is your signing bonus? I'm in.
The volleyball might be a little gay, but hey, I got to make compromises.
I mean, if I got to play volleyball with some dudes to bang some chicks, it's
So I joined the Coast Guard. I went in with a buddy, did the buddy system, joined the reserves, went through firefighting, law enforcement, school.
And you were a sniper in the Coast Guard?
Yeah, sure. And loved it. And it was the law enforcement bug that absolutely bit me. So then when I came back, it really caused me to grow up quite a bit. Then I went back to UNO and was on the dean's list. Got a 4.0, basket weaving, gymnastics, and a couple of other really difficult courses that I was taking.
Hell yeah.
Just kidding. I actually had some difficult courses and I got a 4.0 and made the dean's list and was like, I knew I could do it. I wanted to prove that I could do it. And then I never finished. I still haven't finished to this day, but I knew I wanted to become a cop. I love the adrenaline and did a couple ride-alongs with some friends of mine through the Martial Arts Academy. Joe Bowdler, who's an absolute stud. Went out with Joe with the Omaha Police Department, and I was like, that's it. This is what I would do. We jumped a couple curbs, went to a shooting. I'm in the back seat sliding all over the place. I'm like, this is the shit.
What year?
What was your favorite part of it?
91, I think. 92,
okay.
91, 92.
What was your favorite part of it, of that night? Going to the shootout, jumping the curbs?
The truth?
Or was it all
that you could do whatever the fuck you wanted as a cop. I mean, just like the rules of the road didn't apply. I mean, it's hauling ass. It was the adrenaline, jumping curbs, going around cars, and just being...
Dude, that's the exact same thing that Pat Moose told me.
Is that what he told you
Yeah,
too? Really?
that's what he misses the most.
Yeah.
Just like
They're too few and far between.
Oh, dude, I did a couple
flying
ride-alongs.
around, going
Yeah.
every like call. Yeah.
And the older you get, the less inclined you are to do that stupid shit because you become,
You're
more,
like
more experienced
Yeah.
and you acknowledge the dangers, right? The liability.
Yeah.
Getting into pursuits, every new cop is like, I want to get into foot pursuits. I want to get into vehicle pursuits. But then you start seeing some of the collateral damage that occurs because of that. And then especially when you have a family, and when I had kids, I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, there were other people, innocent motoring public. And if I chase somebody for a traffic infraction, whatever the case, it's a different deal. If it's a felony, and somebody's running, they've robbed a bank or they've assaulted somebody or killed somebody, it's a different story. But you start realizing, wow, I could be ultimately responsible for somebody losing their life.
Yeah.
So it really changes the game.
But when you'd pull people over, were you sitting in your car like, please run, please run?
Oh yeah. So back to your original question. So on a comedy side, I mean, there are two different aspects of that, right? So, oftentimes you get really bored with doing what you're doing because it becomes mundane. I'm not saying traffic stops are routine and they're mundane. Anything can happen, right? So you always have to be on your toes. You always have to be prepared. But you do, like the majority of the calls you take, of course, this is Douglas County Sheriff's Office. It was intrusion alarms.
Yeah.
It's the same thing over and over and over. And that's the stuff that ends up killing cops because you get stuck in a certain rut and you just make assumptions that, hey, 99.9% of these alarms are false.
Yeah.
But it could be that 1/10% you roll up and it's somebody burglarizing that place that's armed and then shit goes south.
Complacency kills.
Completely. So we'd make fun out of the different things that we would do. And sometimes we would incorporate the people if they had a sense of humor. And then other times you would just do it between the officers, like super troopers, right? Here's the deal. You'd pull shit like that, shtick like that. It was fun. It made the day go by faster. But there was one dude that I pulled over. This was an absolute riot. He was speeding. I come into the car and he goes, "Hey, man." And I go, "How's it going?" He goes, "Good." He goes, "You're probably going to write me a ticket. I know I speed." And he said, "Does it help if I tell you I know a cop?" And I go, "Well, it depends on who it is." He said, "Well, I don't like the cop." I go, "You're getting a ticket." And I started laughing. He goes, No, it's a dude I work out with all the time in Gold's Gym. He's a good friend of mine. Shae Degan. And I'm looking at him like, my last name is pronounced Degan.
Number one.
And I don't even recognize the guy. And my nameplate says S.M. Degan.
Whoa.
Didn't even look at my nameplate. And I go, I don't know if I know that guy. I said, "All right, sit tight." And I'm like, "You dirty little bitch."
Yeah.
So I go back to my cruiser and I never scratched out tickets. I'd always walk up to cars and I'd say, "Hey, listen, needs your driver's license, registration, proof, insurance." I'm going to preface this by saying, if you're honest with me and you tell me why you think I pulled you over, I'm not going to write you a ticket. And I said, I mean that. And then I go, I'm an idiot. I ran that stoplight. It was blatant. I go, okay, sit tight. It'd be a fix-it ticket. And they were like, no way. And I'm like, put that on your refrigerator to remind you that you got off easy and it's a rarity and that there are good cops who are out there. And oftentimes, in my opinion, positive reinforcement was far better than negative reinforcement.
Yeah, of course.
Because you're less inclined to do it again. You're like, man, I got lucky that one time, and man, cops are pretty cool. I want to leave a good taste in their mouths as well. Now they're assholes who deserve to be written tickets. So I come back into the car and I hand it. He goes, "Oh man," he goes, "you must not like the guy." And I go, "Well, some days I don't." I go, "Because Shae Degan is me." And he goes, "What's up, brother?" And then puts his fist out. He doubled down. He doubled down. And I immediately burst into tears laughing. I fist bump him and he goes, "I figured I'd try, bro." And I grabbed his ticket. I was laughing so hard and I tore it up and I said, "You made my fucking day to get out of here."
Dude, that's hilarious.
So he knew some people I knew.
So he had a fantastic sense of humor.
Oh yeah, he totally
he's
did.
like,
I laughed the way he did. He goes, "What's up, bro?"
That's insane.
Couldn't believe it.
Double down.
It was good.
Gaslighting you right there.
Completely.
I wanted to ask you, taking a turn real quick, did you know and work with Jimmy Wilson Jr.?
I knew Jimmy not extremely well. I worked down at Crossroads Mall security, and they had what was called the STOP unit down there, strategy to overcome peer pressure. So it was a unit, a different division, and Jimmy was brand new. Of course, his dad had been on, and Jimmy was
of course.
Iconic, homicide investigator, old school cop. And Jimmy was one of the nicest kids you could ever meet. Just a super good dude, very friendly. I didn't know him that well, but So much so, he was such a nice guy that I remember going out downtown. I was at a bar, and I couldn't believe he remembered me. I'd met him several times and bullshitted with him, but he saw me from afar and he goes, "What's up, Shae?" Waved, whatever, bullshitted with him for a few minutes. Just a super down-to-earth, great dude.
Yeah.
What tragic.
Was there, I've heard this story before, and I don't know if this is just Omaha lore, that's not true at all, but I had heard that, tell me if you've ever heard this. Supposedly, he was such a good cop that he had a hit out on him from gangs. Now, is that just made up lore? That's probably not true.
I mean, I could be completely wrong, but Jimmy was far too new to have established himself into some specialty unit and to have garnered a name for himself. But I could be completely wrong.
Just heard, I had someone tell me that he was new, he had made such a name for himself, he was a threat. And so when he pulled this van over, that there was a hit out on him and they had unloaded. But it kind of seems like it was more, they freaked out and these kids were like 17, 18 when they have like automatic weapons and they just pulled them over and they just unloaded
them.
SKS
is a Chinese version of the AK-47, and it was South Family Bloods. Jimmy pulled them over, and I think they were headed to do a drive-by, and a couple of them, I can't remember the name of the shooter, bailed out of the sliding door, the right side of the van, and then opened fire. I saw the photographs. It was terrible.
Was there anything he could have done to, did he pull up too close, you think, or was it just that's just...
No, I don't think so. I mean, he was shot while still putting the call out, but I mean, I can tell you that for most cops who pay attention to that sort of thing, it's a learning experience, and you utilize that. And anytime you pull a vehicle over, at least I do this or did this, along with lots of friends of mine who really took officer safety very, very seriously and were good, exceptional cops. When you make a traffic stop, and I worked the K9 unit with Douglas County, so I worked interdiction. So all I did for years was work the interstate, going after traffickers. And any car that I would pull over, if I saw furtive movement, it took them a little bit longer to pull over, whatever the case is. I'd look for all those different signs, pre-incident indicators that would cause me to handle that traffic stop a little bit differently.
Yeah.
I was always very cautious and always played out in my head, what if this happens? Where am I going for cover? If I have to bail out of my cruiser. So seatbelt would come off before I even came to a full stop. I'd be off the radio and hung up on the mic before I even stopped. As long as they start pulling over, I hit out. And then I've got my door unlatched and I'm ready to bail if I have to, because I'm not going to be caught in that.
So something like that were to happen, what are the options for a cop? Because I feel like that's like what do they call the car? The death trap or whatever.
Yeah, it can be. So there's a couple different ideologies behind this. In fact, we teach a class right there, HTV, high threat vehicle engagements. And in fact, that's me on the back of the truck.
Is it?
So yeah.
Oh yeah.
You look good in that photo.
God bless you, thank you. We teach a class, a 4 or 5 day course that entails fighting in, over, under, through vehicles, teaching where the points of cover are, A pillar, B pillar, C pillar, how to maneuver around that vehicle. But the most important part is to take the fight to them.
Yep.
So you have usually a few seconds before they bail and start putting rounds under the car, is if you can start engaging that threat
through your windshield, right?
Yep. Right. Try to port a hole through there, and we'll teach where the round is going to go as it punches through the windshield.
Yep.
Any idea?
Yeah. So I know that if you're outside the vehicle versus inside the vehicle, the trajectories are different. What I always forget is which way, and I could be wrong on this, but it's
picture
either
me standing in front of the vehicle 10, 15 feet.
Yeah.
Where are you going to aim to hit me center mass?
It's either higher or lower, and I think if you're in the vehicle, I'm gonna go a little bit higher.
I'm gonna go lower.
Lower.
All right. See, I get it mixed up, but I know you gotta.
It's a path of least resistance. As it goes through the windshield, the round is deflected up. If you're shooting into the windshield, depending upon your different left and right angle, it doesn't matter what your distance is from that vehicle. That angle is always going to be the same.
Yep.
So if I want to shoot somebody center mass, I'm going to aim for their head.
Yep.
So it's easier to ambush a vehicle than it is to defend a vehicle.
I see. Yeah. I knew it was either up or down. Yeah. I know it's not straight on, but yeah.
And the further they are from the vehicle, the lower you have to shoot. And under extreme duress, you're not aiming. It's pointed fire.
Yeah.
Under extreme duress, unless you're Delta Force or Special Forces or somebody.
Where your blood pressure doesn't even go up.
Or exactly. You have time, distance, cover,
So-
that sort of thing.
So as you're now a cop and everything, where does the Fuzz come into play?
Wasn't
Like,
even a cop at the time.
you weren't?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
Oh no.
So what year was that?
That was the first one was 1991, 92. And that was with Randy, the very first Fuzz.
Okay.
Was just a friend of mine owned, his parents had a spare car, and it was an old state trooper vehicle that they got from the Omaha Auto Auction. So their car broke down and he was driving. It had the big antenna on the back and the spotlight, the floodlight in the exterior, the things that cause you to go, "Ooh, is that a cop?"
Yeah.
Instead of looking at the plate and seeing that it isn't a government plate.
Yeah, you're
The
like,
worst-
it has the light on the side.
The
I'm
worst
going to
people in the
jail.
world drive those. Yeah.
So I was riding in that car. This will show you how fucking deviant we are. As we're driving, I just noticed people were jamming on the brakes in front of us, and we're like, oh, they think we're cops. So we'd ride their butts and scare them, and they'd be looking in the rearview mirror and get out of the way. And we're giggling. I was like, hey, what do we put on my Coast Guard uniforms? They're blue. Perfect idea. Yeah, there you go. Go impersonate a cop.
and ride people's asses.
We literally parked in parking lots, had my Coast Guard. This is how stupid we were. Sat there in cars as they're going by thinking we're running radar, and we'd laugh and tears
Did
coming
Randy
down.
do this with you?
So Randy was in the back. Randy's like, we got to get this on film. So Randy starts filming it. Well, then we were like, we ought to do a spoof on Cops, because Cops came out, I think, in 84, 85.
Yeah.
And I was a huge fan. I mean, just every time it was on every Saturday night, I was just like fixated. And because I wanted to be a cop at the time. So I go, hey, we had to film a spoof. So Beveridge Junior High, up off 120 between Pacific and Center. So I tell my older brother, I go, hey, I made this fake bag of Coke, like flour, put some duct tape around it, and gave it to Randy and my brother. I go, just go up in the lot, we'll improv it. Bobby and me will just drive into the parking lot, and then you guys are over doing a drug deal, and we'll be filming it from afar. So I had another buddy of mine filming, and we come pulling in, and I'm playing Sergeant Frank Cole. And again, this is 1991, 92. And we come pulling in the parking lot, and I go, let's back up over here. That was my character voice. That was
Like that.
Frank T. Cole. Go back up. And I got my hair slicked back and a fake fat suit on with shooter glasses, yellow. And so we back up, and I go, what do we got? What do we got? And they zoom in, and I see they're like 69'd up. That's what we call it as cops. You roll up next to each other so you can bullshit, right? So it's terrible. So they're 69'd up, Randy and my brother, and they're bullshit.
We got a 69.
We got a 69 progress. And all of a sudden this car drives around him, and I'm getting pissed because I'm like, this is part of this. You're blowing the fucking scene, even though we don't know what we're doing. It was going to be videoing.
Fucking
like
amateurs out here, dude.
this bag of Coke that gets exchanged. I'm like, what do we got here? So all of a sudden, the car stops momentarily and then drives off out of the parking lot. And as they do, Randy goes, follow that car. He's got a real bag of Coke. And I go, what? And then I break character. I go, okay, this is for real. I go, follow that car, Bobby, follow that car. We chase this car. We're such idiots. We chase it through, and you hear the engine, this old trooper view, we're up and over this hill. And this guy's trying to evade us and go through the neighborhood. We don't have lights on or anything. And all of a sudden the guy panics, pulls over. And as he pulls over, we're rolling up. Bobby goes to pull in front of him. I go, I'm not getting out of the fucking car. I got
Yeah.
You're like, we're not real cops.
we're not cops.
I'm wearing a costume.
I got a bath towel tucked in my shirt as a fake belly. I go, what do we do? I go, back up. So he backs up next to him. And I have my hand out. I go, roll the window down. And the guy's got dark circles under his eyes and looking all shifty and shit. Looking at the camera. I got this tape somewhere.
Oh, you
and I
gotta
go, what do we got going on here? And he goes, what do you mean? And he's all pasty white and sweaty. I go, you got a driver's license on you? And he goes, yeah. And he's staring at me, staring at the camera. And I go, well, we have an undercover officer working up the parking lot. Said, you had a real bag of Coke on you? Is this true? And he goes, no, sir. I don't have any cocaine. And I go, all right, well, listen. And I'm trying not to laugh. I think a couple times you hear me go, I go, all right, well, listen, we got your name. I got your ID, and I'm writing this information down on your plate number. We'll be in touch. And he goes driving off. And then immediately, you see that chicken shit asshole? We're laughing, high-fiving. So we finish this thing up and do these stupid other skits, and we burn a copy of it, and we just steal the front end of Cops, Bad Boys, and that leads into this stupid, terrible parody. That's
so
like
would you
15
use to
minutes.
edit it?
I think I just had two Mitsubishi VHS decks.
Okay.
And it would get the speed, they were set up as editing decks. So I edit back and forth. And we give the tape to, it was my brother's girlfriend's brother at the time, went to KU. He takes that tape down to KU and it goes viral. Back before viral was even a thing.
VHS viral.
VHS viral.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, I would be downtown. I was in a couple bars and there were people I knew. It's Sergeant Cole, Frank Cole. And it became this hit. And then people were like, you're going to make another one? How about another? So that friend of mine, Mike Meehan, who did stand-up comedy, we sunk like $2,500 into it. KXVO at the time had their creature feature, silly show, whatever it was at night. And they played our clips in between.
Oh, yeah.
Those
that's
at
awesome.
the end, like the Tracy Ullman show
Yeah.
with the Simpsons
Yeah.
got their start, right? So they were showing those clips and we were trying to get our own show locally. And then Thrasher, Trevor, my partner here at 88 Tato, came along. He loved it. It was a huge cult classic. He was like, man, I've got an inheritance from my grandfather. I got like 60 grand. Let's sink it into this thing. And we wrote the scripts and then filmed it down in Bellevue. And
That's amazing.
Yeah,
Man.
yeah.
So when you did the main pilot for the Fuzz, was that how much time had passed from when you were doing
5 years
when you were scaring the little shit out of civilians?
So it turned out this guy was a neighbor. He was a neighbor of mine, and had a well-known
Of course he
name.
was. It's
I'm not
always
gonna
like
mention his name.
it's like the guy next door, you know. Oh man,
It was actually my dad, and that's what made him stop doing drugs.
Yeah,
and not
yeah.
yeah.
That was 1996. 96 is when we put it together.
Okay,
We filmed it, and then there was an agent out in Hollywood that got a hold of it.
and it was 45 minutes. It was
54 minutes
it
to
was
be exact.
pretty long. So, but in what year was it?
96.
So 96, putting together a pilot, and I've seen it, and we'll put a link to it down
horrible.
below. I don't think so. There's many parts that.
No,
made
but
me laugh
you
out
watch
loud.
that stuff, and I'm like, God.
Oh,
I
yeah.
could probably trim it down to 20 minutes.
Yeah,
Just the really, really funny scenes.
maybe I'll do that.
That'd be kick-ass. That'd be fun.
Yeah,
Somebody who knows
I
how
bet
to
I
edit.
could. Yeah, I
Yeah.
should. I'm gonna do
Yeah.
that because I'll just pull it.
And
off
somebody who's
YouTube.
objective, because
Yeah.
you're the outsider and has a common
Right.
timing.
And I always tell like people that want to learn how to edit. I'm talking to a kid right now. I'm like, you have to cut out the things that you love, like because I can
You're
see
spot
like
on.
he sent me something and I'm like, all right, yeah, these are beautiful shots. I'm like, this is just too long. You got to get to the punch quicker, and they're just in there because you like them. But even if you like it, you got to cut it out.
Totally right.
Because even like the podcast I was editing last night, there was like a part that, I liked, but I'm like, this just doesn't fit.
Yeah.
And it was me, it's something that I was doing, and
Yeah.
I had to cut it out.
Yeah.
Even though normally you'd be like, well, I want to put myself in there. But you have to be that objective.
It was, it's funny. So when we shot that back in 96, 97, and my partner is Shae Degan, and he plays Tim Kilpatrick, who's a rookie. And the whole storyline is, well, why would cops, the film crew, come in and film some bumbling cops? The storyline was my father was the mayor, and I was this jackass cop that never should have gotten hired, and of course have been promoted because who my dad is. And my dad has brought me up through this department, and everybody hates me. I'm the laughing stock of the department. So they put a new recruit with me, and he's my field training. I'm his field training officer. And Jeff, this is back before those Billy Bob teeth. We had a dentist make these fake teeth for my cousin. So he plays Tim Kilpatrick, and he's just really unsure of himself. And Jeff does a beautiful job, and he's always questioning what I'm saying. Sarge, are you sure? And I'm like, shut up, Tim. And I was yelling at him, abusing
I was
the fuck out of
wondering
him.
those teeth were great. Like, that's awesome.
they're
You're a
awesome.
dentist.
Had a
So you
dentist
guys,
make
you guys
those.
went all out.
Oh yeah, it was badass. And we released it. And when I say release, we put it out on VHS, but we had our big debut and we were showing it at places. And I was really worried because one of the scenes was, I can't imagine how it's going to go over now, but it was a scene where it's the handicapped bandit.
Going to a robbery in progress by a handicapped bandit.
It was down at Charlie's on the Lake. That was Trevor's uncle that owned that. So we're using all of the resources that we can
Yeah, I
get
told
our
you.
hands
This
on.
show's-
Connections.
I
So-
think the show's hilarious.
We come pulling into the parking lot and we're responding to this handicapped bandit. He's been robbing restaurants, gunpoint, and he's got felony warrants. We come pulling in. As we're responding, you see in the background, there's the handicapped van.
Well, maybe they caught him. Nope. There he goes. He's loading it up. Oh, there he is. There he is. You son of a bitch. You son of a bitch. I'm getting the shotgun out.
It's a pursuit. that goes on forever, and it cuts to different like time periods. Like it's been going on for 30 minutes on just a highway. And I'm looking at it, I go, oh, that over there is a such and such. I'm just talking like it's a tour. And all of a sudden I go, oh, he wrecked out. And he's in a tree, and you see him out, and he's getting back out of the road, and he's in a wheelchair. and he's in front of me, and I try to get next to him, and he cuts me off. You son of a bitch, you cut me off. He kept cutting me off. I go, give me a shotgun. I get the shotgun. I roll up next to him, and I gotta blow his fucking tire out. And I hang it out, and I go boom and shoot his tire out of the wheelchair, right?
Can you tell if my barrel's dirty? Yeah. Okay.
Now see, it's
So
in
did,
your
was
head.
it
You
you
can
and
picture.
Jeff? Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
But did you and Jeff write it together?
Yeah, Trevor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Trevor.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. A lot of it, I mean, I would say probably 30% was written.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And then
Maybe
the rest,
20%,
like,
the
kinda
rest
like
is
an
just
outline.
improv.
Yeah.
We do 3-4 cuts and be like, that's the best one. And Jeff would say something funny. I'm like, go with that. Let's run with that. So the wheelchair flips over. This is terrible. And he's dragging himself with his arms, right? Dragging his legs behind him. And I go, I'm in pursuit, right? And I go over and I just put my foot on his feet and stop him. I go, yep, I got him. I caught him. And we place him in cuffs, and I leave him there for the vultures to eat him. It's just, it's so jacked. I don't know how it would go over today.
Go over awesome.
It's that
For me,
twisted-
it was so
yeah.
funny, dude.
Yeah, because you have a sixth sense of humor.
I know. Dude, I did this show in the middle of Nebraska not too long ago, and he's like, this old farmer comes up to me, and he's like, funny shit, man. Funny shit, but you fucked up. You're fucked in the head.
But yeah, he said you're fucked up. He did.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
I was
So-
like, thanks, man.
Appreciate it.
So that tape got passed around in Hollywood, correct?
Yeah, so real quick, I was curious, like so how did you guys in that year, raise the money to film it? Because you told me how much just to edit it.
It was all
alone
Trevor.
was.
Trevor.
Well, yeah, he said
front
it-
of the cash.
It was, yeah, because
Oh, I
he
missed
got it from his
Asher, yeah.
grandparents, you said? Yeah.
All right.
So it was my original idea. Trevor put a ton of time into it as well. He's a stud, and he's got a great sense of humor. And the two of us wrote that. And then Jeff, of course, had a big part in writing and directing it too, because of the improvisational piece. But Trevor, I got handed to him. He sunk all the money into it.
And then who'd you guys have to edit it at the time?
Andy Anderson was his name.
Okay.
And then after Andy, it was another guy, Travis, who went to the same high school, real nice guy, but he worked through Godfathers. His stepfather owned Godfathers at the time. And he was the guy that did all the commercial work. So we would go after hours. We'd be in their editing studio off of 90th and Dodge Street.
Yeah.
At the Godfather's corporate offices. We'd go in there.
So you got that, dude. You got
It was like $30,000 in just editing.
Yeah.
I mean, from deck to deck, of course, it really took a lot. And there was some animated graphic stuff that he did, and there was some sound that we had to add. You had to do the spoof Cops, Bad Boys song. But yeah, so we got done with it, and like an idiot, I took the pilot and I mailed it to Comedy Central. I literally still have the original letter from the director of development for Comedy Central saying, we received your tape. This is 1998. Thanks so much. We're not interested at this time. And then a couple months, 3 months later, this Hollywood agent, Bo Carson is his name, reached out to us and said, hey, you guys have caught lightning in a bottle. I'd like to fly out here. I want to meet with a bunch of studios.
Yeah.
So we lined up like 12 different studios. It was Pursuit Productions, who did World's Wildest Police Videos. So Tim Gibbons, he was the shit at the time, right? So you had Tim Gibbons, Pursuit Productions. Then you had Shop Till You Drop was another one. I can't remember the name of the production company. Dick Clark Productions, and keep it up, Randy.
Oh,
Everybody sees you, Randy.
It's probably because my eyes. I shouldn't have shifted
Yeah.
my eyes.
Oh, I can see it every corner.
Oh,
I
you
s-
could?
And I smelled a Whopper with cheese, so I figured it was him.
What's up, Randy?
What's up, dude?
So we went out and we met with like 10, 11 different production companies, and they were all like vying for it. They were all fighting for it. No joke. So our agent's like, listen, this is going to create a fight. He goes, you guys are new Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. And this is back when Good Will Hunting. They were like,
wow.
oh my God, blowing all the smoke. We went to Comedy Central, and I swear to God, before we went into Comedy Central, as we're pulling up out front, he goes, if you get ripped off, these are the guys that are going to rip you off. I swear he said that. I couldn't believe it. So we go in, and they were the only production company out of all the 8, 9, 10 other ones we went to that said they weren't interested. And then a year and a half later, and I'd sent the scripts to them as well, like a jackass. A year and a half later, they came up with Reno 911. Now, I'm not saying that they stole it, but
I'm saying that they stole it because it lines up perfectly.
Because the script and the characters, we had the gay guy, lieutenant, we had the flamboyant female. With
you just you watch the Fuzz and know it's like this is in a desert.
Yeah, they screwed us,
and they put them in like bikini shorts.
Yeah, they were deputies as opposed to PD, right? So Trevor and I flew out there, met up with. We were trying to meet with some entertainment attorneys, probably 5 years later, and none of them would touch it. They wouldn't touch it. Like, it's conflict of interest, conflict. They were all tied in.
Yeah.
So
they probably called Comedy Central. They're like, they're here.
I'm sure. Yeah. But I have all the documentation that shows. I mean, we sent the video. I think nowadays that's why I don't take videos from anybody, because they want to avoid any kind of lawsuit. Saying,
right.
I have irrefutable proof that they got our tape 3 years before they came up with Reno 911.
Yeah, I was in LA, this last June, and after the show, this guy put together this package. It was awesome for a baseball movie, and like put so much time into it, and like baseball cards, like all this story about the Oakland A's, and in the middle was the script. Well, this one of the main, like a real powerful agent for CAA, I believe it is. He's like, don't read it. Do not read that.
Really?
Because basically if you read it and then later on you do make a baseball movie and maybe you're subconscious in there, you have like a little bit of a scene, you'll just get sued. So they avoid, I guess. And then they told me that's why it's so hard to break in to Hollywood as a writer.
Yeah. They don't take
because like people
scripts.
will not read them.
So were you working in Omaha when cops came through?
When they had the shooting where the sound man was
shot?
Well,
did they come through before that? The reason I'm asking is because I talked to a cop once and I said, would you ever let them ride with you? And he goes, no, because I know some guys who did. And he said that the cops crew is they're instigators. He said that they'd be like, ooh, that car looks like it could be something. You should pull them over, find something. Yeah. And obviously, if you drive behind somebody, they're going to get nervous and make a mistake at some point.
Well, it's that whole cinema verite style, right? And then it's like the reality TV. It's not reality TV. It's all scripted. Yep. So they have a huge hand in on telling the story and what direction it's going to go. And I would imagine Cops is identical to that. There was a sound man who was shot and killed, right?
Yeah, was it Wendy's?
So I don't mean to make light of that, but in our video, years previous, we may have been the ones that cursed that sound man.
You prophesized.
Because we had a scene, the very end scene, right? The very end scene, we're bailing out. It's an actual thunderstorm. It's not raining yet. There are two cruisers. It's chaotic. We made it look chaotic on purpose. And it's a robbery in progress. And I'm all hyped up and I'm yelling and you see all this lightning and we're adding the thunder effects. And it's really kind of this chaotic, hyped up scene. And we come rolling in another cruiser. Frank, you got the right side. You got that. I go, I got it. Come on, Tim. Tim is running ahead of me down the left side of this building. And the lightning's going and boom, you hear the thunder and he's got the shotgun. And all of a sudden the camera's trailing me and Tim turns around and goes, look out behind your sides, look out. Boom, and shoots with a blank round that's loud as fuck. And a cameraman drops and he falls on his side. I go, Tim, you just shot the cameraman. You just shot the cameraman. And I walk up and the camera's on its side still filming. You see me with my flashlight shining. I go, you see who that is? That's a cameraman. You just killed him. And somebody goes, Frank, what's up? And I go, oh, Tim, you just killed the cameraman. And all of a sudden here, look outside, just another one, boom. And I go, oh my God, you just shot the sound man. And they're like, what happened? I go, I just killed the cameraman and sound man.
Oh, Tim, oh my God. You just shot the sound man.
Literally 1996.
Oh man.
Yeah.
That's a good way to end like this show though. That's a pretty creative way. Honestly, like you killed the crew. I like that.
Yeah. And the camera's down.
Yeah,
and
fantastic.
How long was it after that you became a cop?
So that would have been 19. Really good. I'm doing the shit. And then I become a cop, a real cop.
I was gonna say, how did
Smart.
that not affect?
Yeah, it did.
Is that what
they
you
played
showed?
the video in the academy? They played
did it?
the video when
That's
I went through the
awesome.
law enforcement. They had no idea who I was, right? So I went through the Nebraska Law Enforcement Training Center, NLETC, out in Grand Island. And I get out there, and there's multiple agencies. So there's two of us from Douglas County that are going through. Excuse me. And then there's Bellevue PD, some of the guys from Papillion. And OPD has its own academy, but there'd be Sarpy County. So it'd be an eclectic group or a big mix of agencies all over the state of Nebraska. So there's like 80 of us, maybe. I suppose maybe 100 people in a class, maybe not that many. But so 1998, and I'm sitting in one of the classes, I can't remember what it was, and they start playing my video. They start playing Fuzz, what not to do as a cop. And I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden the instructor goes, "Holy shit,
He's going to be a
and
cop.
I'm like, I start looking down. He goes, "That's him. That's him. You're Sergeant Cole. We heard you were coming through." That's right. He was coming through the academy. I was like, oh my God. So they played the
What
whole
are the
thing.
odds?
And they still to this day.
Did you feel embarrassed at first, but then like just because you were in the academy, you know?
I thought it might hurt me.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
I thought it might hurt
Yeah.
me because of the stupid shit that we did
Yeah.
in the video. I'm like, listen, I'm not going to go and violate rights.
Yeah.
At least not on camera.
That's
I'm
not
kidding.
me. That's not.
Nope. I wouldn't do that in real life. Maybe once.
I'll give the handicapped people the
Yeah.
process.
I know
won't
not to
shoot a
shoot
guy.
the tires. You pit maneuver. You bump the back end with your cruiser. So I got into Douglas County and was a regular worked courthouse and then road patrol deputy, and then became a canine handler and worked the interstate then for years. And then left Douglas County to start a security company, Signal 88 Security, founded that in 2003, and then left Douglas County in 2008. Would have been, 10 years full time. And then I went to Bennington PD to maintain my creds to work part time. So I'd work 1, 2, 3 shifts a month.
Yeah.
And I just retired this past December.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I see.
So to kind of roll this into our next interview, we're going to be talking to your childhood buddy, Randy. So, at what point in time was he like, we're going to Hollywood, and you decided not to go? Was it after you got screwed over by Comedy Central?
I think it was before.
It was before?
Yeah, it was before. Yeah, I left you. Oh my God. This is going to be a great
How could you do that to
interview.
your friend?
Well, I mean, you'll get to know him here shortly, so you'll see why. At the end of the podcast, you're going to be like, I get it.
I would have done the same.
I get it. Yeah. I've been trying to
So what did you tell him what was your reason for not going?
I had to have a real job.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I needed to. It was funny because we had this conversation not long ago. I'll never forget. My mom is the most supportive person on the absolute planet, but she threw a curveball because years before that, I remember saying, "I want to be an actor," and she goes, "Oh," she mocked me. That's not my mom, which is bizarre. She goes, "Oh, I want to be an actor," and I remember looking at her like, "You betrayed me."
Yeah.
I was like, "I thought you loved me."
You know that Quentin Tarantino's mom did that to
No,
him
really?
with being a writer? Like he would be writing in school, and she read it, and she was like, "Oh, you're gonna be a writer?
Yeah.
Write some stuff down." So he's actually recently in an interview,
Yes.
he said, "Well, when I make it, I will never give her a dime." And he never bought her anything, except he said he did get her out of an IRS jam. But he held that grudge, like, "You're gonna mock a 13-year-old kid in his fucking dreams? You will die alone in an unmarked grave. I am Tarantino." I swear to God.
That is hilarious.
Yeah, that's a
Fuck my
true
mom.
story. Yeah,
I got to carry this a little
yeah.
bit
I just
further.
read the article. They're like, he's like, yeah, I haven't given her shit.
Well, listen, I know that had I gone to Hollywood, she's probably right. I would have failed miserably. This guy's talented. But for me, she
I don't know.
pushed
It's
me down
impressive
the-
that you made something from Omaha in the 90s
Yeah.
on analog machines and then got the attention of Hollywood. So you can't say if you would have went out, you would have failed because you got their attention.
Yeah.
And I mean, basically when, shit was real primal.
I think all of the experiences that I've been fortunate enough to have had, whether they've been good or bad, have made me into the person I am today. Those failures are really what mold you. Hitting those obstacles and figuring out a way over and never giving up is why and plus surrounding myself with incredible people. You're only as successful as the people you surround yourself with.
Yeah.
Absolute firm believer in that. there's so many different things that I don't do well that I have to rely on other people. And I'm very blessed that I'm able to pitch the vision of the things that I want to do. And there are people that trust me, that believe in me and jump on, and we do it together. Cause I could never do this on my own. I couldn't.
Were there moments in time while in the early stages of building this where you didn't think it was going to work, or felt like, what am I doing? What's
even to this
point?
day, even to this day. I mean,
that's crazy, man.
Yeah. There are numerous challenges that affect you that are beyond your control. The economy, we're in a recession right now, and it depended upon who's running the country and what's going on, or if it's COVID. There are all these curveballs that are thrown at you. There's no guarantee that whatever great idea you come up with, it could be an absolute, I think and we're very, knock on wood, we're very successful right now, but we could be a hell of a lot more successful in a great economy. I just think that we would be in a different place if the circumstances were better. But the fact that we can survive and then some and do well in an environment like this just indicates to me that we would do even better when things turn around.
Yeah, that starting up something, it's like that valley of death. And that's, as we were starting up that's what you're going through, where you look at what you've made and you're like, this is so good, I know this will work. Yeah. But then you're sitting there by yourself at 11 o'clock at night, and that's where that thought hits you, that just hits you to your bones, and you're like, oh man. So
you get to a crossroads. You're like, am I just wasting my time? Is this going to be just a slow burnout? Am I wasting my money, wasting my time? Am I going to put myself in a worse position down the road if I continue? I'll never forget, somebody had said to me, I don't see how you can do it with millions and millions of dollars on the line and how you sleep at night. And I don't think of it that way. For me, if I stop and I think about like what we have over 200 employees here. If I start thinking about the payroll and I think about what we pay each month, it could get me a little freaked out. But kidding. What freaks me out even more is doing the mundane, going to a job that I have to go to 5 days a week, and maybe even a second job, and then having them tell me when I can or can't take time off.
Right.
And having to collect vacation time. I become so spoiled because I've been a business owner for 20 years now. I can't say that. Since 2008 is when I left the sheriff's office. So what is that? 15 years? So for 15 years, I've earned my own income and been my own boss. I don't think I could ever have anybody tell me what to do. Literally, I remember having to sit in classes for each year. You'd have to put in X number of hours, with the police department, that you had to for a course, taking classes, I think 21 hours or whatever. And I'd have to sit in that fucking class. Yeah. And I couldn't get up and leave. If I'm sitting downstairs, I'm the boss, so I can get up. I'm so ADHD. And I just got to constantly get up and move around that I'm locked in a classroom. I'm like, this is torture.
That is me
8
to
hours.
a T.
I love
to a T.
Oh, I hate it.
Like pacing around. If I'm just like
looking at my phone.
I love the honesty, Shae, because as somebody who, today is my first time meeting you, and it's like, I drive by the facility, I see this, and your thought is thinking like, those guys never worry. They have it figured out. They got the beautiful facility. They got the memberships. They're the talk of the town. I know so many people that train here. I would think like, that guy, he's, he doesn't have any doubts. That guy has no insecurities, no self-doubt, none of that. So I love it when people can be honest, be like, yeah, I get scared sometimes, you know?
Yeah, I have a lot of ups and downs, and you get worried. It's like if you've ever gambled, like playing craps, and I suck at it. But you got enough out there.
I've done one time.
You're like, pull it right. You panic. It's just like finding the right time. When do you sell a stock, right? When is enough? And we're not making the money that people think that we're making. People have no idea. Business is so fucking tough. 10 years I've been at this and still not at the point where I can just relax and making the money that I want to make, because you're constantly building. And then when we go to build other locations and we finally become, uber profitable here, that money gets pushed to the next location. Yeah. And the goalpost gets moved further and further and further. And then it's, well, I'm 55. When am I going to be done? How far can I go? How long can I go before this ends up taking a toll on my health? A salaried $40,000 employee is really an $80,000 to $100,000 employee when you start factoring in benefits and stuff like that, insurance, all that stuff. Well, your $40,000, $50,000 employees, are now $60,000, $70,000 employees.
Yeah.
You know, after COVID, things just went through the roof. And
Yeah.
if you want to attract talent, like good people, just regular people, you've got to be paying at least 50, 60,000.
Yeah.
And if you want the really talented folks and you want to put golden handcuffs on them, it's 80, 90 grand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah.
Listen, we pay you $600 a month. Just be happy with
Yeah.
that. Okay.
Yeah.
That's it.
You were supposed to be here 12 hours yesterday. And you weren't. So let's start with that.
And you can sleep in the gym.
Yeah.
On the one that just curled up on a
Listen,
bench.
It's free.
Yeah.
Open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Just drag a cotton there, Randy.
It's a good deal. Do you think I could get a part of that deal?
No.
Oh, all right. Sorry
Not
for
at all.
asking.
Well, this is an awesome conversation. We'll have you on again.
Yeah,
I
I'd
mean,
love
there's
it.
so much to mine there.
Dude.
You know, like even like the part about, you know, talking about your time busting traffickers and stuff that we were just talking about privately. Like, those stories are all.
Shay,
Yeah,
you and I could
some cool
we could probably do a whole hour of you and I just leaned in talking about tactics, like me just like picking your
Yeah.
brain and being like, hey, I heard this. Does
Well,
this
I got a guy for you. I'll tell you, you got to interview Trevor. So Thrasher is one of my business partners, and Trevor and I have been buddies 30 plus years. He was Omaha SWAT. He's still a cop. He's been a cop 30 plus years. Guys, we call him the tactical mad scientist.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Plus
we got to talk to that
Retired
guy.
Green Beret.
Yes,
So-
dude, I am obsessed with the special forces
Okay,
right now
there you go.
because they are the people to talk to when a society is collapsing because that's their
Well, Trevor
specialty.
trained through RBWI as well. And
Oh, no
connected
kidding.
all those guys.
Yeah, we definitely
Yeah.
need to talk to that guy. We can I'll fill up 6 hours with
Yeah.
him. So
Yeah, so I mean, Trevor's the guy that's come up with a high threat CQB that has been adopted by the state of Nebraska.
yeah.
So his methodology on room clearing, because he's had a mixture of this laboratory of violence,
yeah,
being
yeah.
a contractor overseas for Blackwater and a bunch of other companies working for the CIA. And then, of course, combat deployed 3 times, Special Forces, National Guard, 35 years, I think. Special Forces, 24, 25 years. He's a stud.
Yeah.
And then being a cop, still a cop, he's working up in a different jurisdiction now. And the
That's
guy just
amazing.
doesn't give a-
That'd
he's
be-
my age, 55.
Yeah, just the name Green Beret is so cool, you know.
Yeah.
When you
Well, I thought
hear
were gonna
it,
say his name,
everybody's like,
Thrasher. Just that
yeah,
name, Thrasher.
Yeah.
Thrasher, Green Beret.
I try to say special forces so that they know that I know because they're technically special forces, and some guys are like, I'm not a hat because that's where it came from, the name, right? The Green Beret hat is what they wear.
Yeah.
So it depends on who you're talking to. Some guys call themselves Green Berets, some say special forces.
Yeah.
From my experience, from
Yeah.
what
He'll go
know.
back and forth, but
yeah.
he's a guy to have on your podcast. You want to talk
Yeah.
about tactics. He is literally the stuff that
Yeah.
he has created. The New York Police Department has adopted his methodology in the academy
That's amazing.
on room clearing. Same with the state of Ohio is basically all converted. Iowa's in a process. Pretty cool.
Yeah, that is a art. This is all an art form too. You know,
Yeah.
Oh,
violence.
yeah.
Completely.
Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
100%. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
Guys, thanks so much,
Incredible.
man. It was
Yeah.
a pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Had a lot of
Great
fun.
stories.